What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's hard to believe it's May already. The year is flying by. I feel like I say that every month. You know, it just feels like I blink my eyes and fish a couple times and then it's another month. So May is here, and today we're going to dive into my top 5 baits for the month of May. This has been pretty popular every month, so appreciate all you guys watching. If you're new to the channel, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, because love seeing that subscriber count grow. I appreciate all you guys always commenting. I try and get back to all of you, and I really appreciate that and love the engagement. So appreciate everybody who's watching this video. We're gonna dive into my top 5 baits for the month of May. You know, May can be a little tricky because you got all sorts of things going on depending on what part of the country you're in. You know, you've got a shad spawn, a herring spawn, or a gizzard shad spawn, depending on the area of the country you're in. There's probably still some bass spawning, or if you're up north, you know, the bass are just starting to spawn. So it's kind of tricky to pick a bunch of different baits, but I'm kind of basing my picks off of the middle of the country. So it'd probably be the majority of the country right now and majority of what's going on in the fishing world right now. So to start, we're going to kind of go on that shad spawn deal, and it's going to be a bait you get out there first thing in the morning and you're targeting these shad spawn around boat docks or any type of hardcover, and that's going to be a swim jig. It's one of my favorite ways to catch them. You know, I was gonna pick a chatterbait, but I pick it every dang month, so I figured we're gonna change it up and just go with a swim jig. So this is the Epic Baits swim jig right here. This is gonna be tied on every single morning I go out in the month of May. You know, the shad spawn at night, so you're looking for those early morning, first thing, as soon as the sun comes up. Maybe even if it's a cloudy morning, it might last a little bit longer, but you're looking for those early morning bites. And those shad get around a piece of hard cover. So it could be rocks, could be wood, could be stumps, could be even grass, could be a gravel bar, a point, boat docks, like I mentioned. You know, marinas are the best way. And that's why I picked this bait right here, because the swim jig's so universal. You can throw it on all different types of structure. Just vary your retrieve based on the cover, and it'll fish it right through there perfectly. You know, it skips extremely well. So when you get around those docks, you can skip it back underneath those tight little cracks and crevices where the bass are hiding, and you can catch them on this. So as for a trailer, you know, you can use a bunch of different things. You know, a white Yamamoto would be a good option. That would keep the bait up very high, but I generally, you know, they're eating shad, so I generally like to go with more of your paddle tail or more of a shad imitating bait as a trailer. So this is the Yamamoto. This is the 4-inch paddle Zako. So this is the same Zako that you see me put on my chatterbait, but in a paddle tail version. So you see it's got a little bit of a tail here. So you can take this, rig him up on your swim jig. You always want to make sure you get it perfectly straight. You guys that know me know I love me some super glue, so of course we're going to put some super glue on there. You know, this swim jig has a nice keeper on it, but when you add a little dab of super glue to go with it, that trailer gets locked on there and it will not come off till you catch a bunch of fish and tear it up. So we're going to push him way up there and let him dry just like that. But that right there, that is a perfect thread fin shad spawn bait. You know, if you're gonna fish a herring spawn or a gizzard shad spawn, you're gonna need a little bit different bait. And that kind of leads me into bait number 2, and that would be the big dog. Everyone loves to talk about it, but no one knows when to fish it. And I would say right now, the month of May is a great time to throw the big glide bait. You know, those bass have just finished up spawning in most of the country, so they're looking for a quick, easy, big meal. They're kind of lazy, so a glide bait's a perfect bait to throw around this time of year. You know, those fish that may have spawned on the bank, they just kind of slide off a little bit deeper, and just to where that zone where you can't really see them, so they're just hanging out down there. Whenever they see a big meal above them, they come up and check it out, and they're gonna eat it. So, glide bait number 2 for the month of May. All right, what else we got? Oh, we'll go with these. This is a sneaky little bait right here. So this is kind of going with the same thing as I just mentioned with the glide bait. When those big fish finish up spawning, they just kind of slide off the bank a little bit and slide out and just kind of hang out and recover a little bit. And even some fish spawn a little bit deeper than you can see. So that's when this bait comes into play right here. This is the Yamamoto Fat Ikea, the 4-inch Fat Ikea. This is like one of the most underrated baits from Yamamoto right here. There's so many things you can do with this, and I'll show you a little trick here soon. But it's basically just a solid bodied bait, and it has this little skirt on the back that is built into the bait. So basically, you can take this bait and rig it up Texas rig just like this and flip it around just like you would any other creature bait, and it glides real well like a tube, but it has a lot better hookup ratio than a tube. It acts a lot like a tube when you rig it normal style just like this. But a little unique thing you can do with this bait is turn them upside down. Let's see, I think I got a hook right here. So you can turn them upside down and rig them upside down weightless. So you're gonna fish this bait weightless and just rig it just like this with this is just a round bend hook. It's a little bit bigger than I would like for this bait, but it's all I had laying right here. So I would probably go with the size smaller if I was choosing out the right hook. But anyway, you rig it up backwards and you throw this around weightless just like this, and this thing will slide down and kind of like dart away from you. So you can almost put this bait like under overhangs, and when it sinks, it like sinks away from you. So it goes further once it hits the water, and it is absolutely killer for all times of the year, but especially when those bass slide out a little bit deeper. And when they're guarding fry, you know, sometimes they'll get over overhangs and they're just kind of sitting there guarding those fry, and you can put this bait where you can't put other baits. So the Fat Ikea, you got to try it the month of May. I'm telling you, it's a fish catcher. It's been around for a while. It doesn't get talked about a lot, but I promise you a lot of guys have it in their boat, and I promise you they're using it this month in the month of May. So you better try out the Yamamoto Fat Ikea. All right, so after that, you know, going towards more of the post-spawn fish, as these bass start moving out a little bit deeper, they're gonna set up on some stumps or some ledges or something like that to feed up for basically all summer. And that's when I'm gonna pick up a crankbait. This is the Bill Lewis MR12, so this is perfect for when those fish are kind of transitioning before they get super deep. You know, June, they're probably in that super deep 20, you know, 15 to 20 foot range. This is a 12-foot diving crankbait, so this is for more of that 10 to 15 foot range where they're just kind of transitioning, getting on those little points or little drops, stuff like that. This deflects off stumps super well. So this is a great bait to just cover water on those big flats and find those little, you know, those little drops that the fish are setting up on. Citrus shad is an excellent killer. I don't know why, but after the bass spawn, they just really get angry at a citrus shad crankbait, and they will always eat it, no matter how clear or dirty the water is. So citrus shad is definitely a must-have, and a crankbait, you got to have it in the boat for the month of May. And now going along with that, if you find a group of fish, catch a few on the crankbait, you're going to have to slow down after a little bit, because they may be fired up for a little bit, but eventually they're going to slow down, and you're going to have to give them a different presentation. And they really love eating a big worm post-spawn. So this right here is the Yamamoto cuttail worm. This is actually one of the new colors that just came out. This is the plum candy color. So this is a 7 3/4 inch worm. I mean, there's a lot of plastic there. And there's a lot of different ways you can rig this. You could rig this on your standard Texas rig and just kind of drag it around. You could rig this on a mag shaky head and have this tail standing up. But one of my favorite ways is just rigging it up on a Nico rig. So you're gonna take your Nico hook. This is the Trokar TK137. This is the non-weedless version, but you can use either based on the cover that you're fishing. And along with the hook, you got to take a nail weight. So this is the Epic Tungsten nail weight. And this is the 3/32 size. So this is about the biggest nail weight I'll use. Just planning on fishing this bait a little bit deeper. So I want a heavier weight to get it down there a little bit quicker and help get the bait down there to those fish. So I got one laying here. We just take that nail weight and you shove it right through the head of that worm, just like that. So that acts like a little extra weight in the head. So it helps the head go down and the tail float up as you're working this bait, but it also helps you get that bait down there a little bit deeper. I do like to add a bigger O-ring for this, especially when you're using tungsten nail weights. You want to make sure you get your bait and your O-ring back all the time. But it's also just a big heavy bait, so it's a little bit harder to cast, and when you're giving it that extra effort on a cast, it kind of likes to rip the worm a little bit more. So I do like to add an O-ring, but I always go right around the egg sac, the smooth part in the worm, and you always want to start your rig on the side that the weight is, so your hook ends up proper. But we go through like this, just like that, and there you go. There is a properly rigged Nico rig with the 7.75 inch cut tail worm, and that right there is going to catch some of the biggest bass in the lake. That is like the perfect snack for those big females that finished up spawning. They're moving out a little bit deeper, and you can catch some really big fish on that right there. So that is one of my favorite baits, especially in the month of May. So hopefully you guys learned something from this. Appreciate you guys watching. Leave me those comments down below. Let me know what you think about the baits for May. And hopefully everybody watching this is getting out fishing here soon. And you know, it's the time of year to be out bass fishing. So hopefully you're out doing it. And love to hear about your fishing stories and how you're doing. So drop all that in the comments down below. But until then, we'll see you guys next time.